Hello, this is Jeff Risdon with RealGM.com here to break down the quarterbacks for the 2011 NFL Draft. But this video is actually going to focus on just one of those quarterbacks, and that would be Cam Newton from Auburn, who is the presumed number one quarterback on just about everybody's board. Him or Blaine Gabbert from Missouri. Newton happens to be number one on my board. And the primary reason is because of his incredible athleticism. If you watch college football at all, you know what I'm talking about. He's huge. He's 6'5", about 245. Pretty good speed, excellent acceleration, just very thick, very difficult to tackle. A lot like Ben Roethlisberger in that he can extend the play with his legs, likes to move outside the pocket. He can take a licking and keep on ticking, to borrow a cliche. Very good at keeping his eyes down the field while he's on the move, extending the play, making things happen that a lot of quarterbacks just simply can't do. He's able to pull rabbits out of the hat all the time. He showed that when he was at Auburn. He showed that at Blaine Community College here in Texas. Just a phenomenal athlete, very confident, and his confidence kind of carries over. His teammates believe in him. They love his ability, and they trust and have confidence in his ability to lead them to victory, even no matter what the situation is. He has that kind of never say die attitude, and it's infectious, and it carries over to his team, and that's a very big quality to have for a quarterback that's going high in the draft. Because you're probably going to a team that, let's face it, you're probably going to lose more than you win for the first couple of years. That seems to be the case if you're taken in the top 10 or so. And Newton is going to go in the top 3 more than likely. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things going on with him. A lot of questions about his wanting to be an icon and an entertainer, as he told Peter King, and that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I happen to embrace it to some extent. I think he's on the vanguard of a new generation of player, and I'm not necessarily sure that all the people in the NFL right now are ready for that. The NFL might not be ready for him, but I think he's going to try to make it so they have to. And in a way, it reminds me of a couple of athletes in different sports. It reminds me a lot of Andre Agassi in tennis when he came in the late 80s. When everybody was wearing all white all the time, and here he came in his black and pink and, the wild hair and the bandanas and the crazy rackets. And the tennis world, most people couldn't stand him. They hated him. They wanted him to fail so badly. And he had kind of limited success. He was good, but he wasn't quite good enough to get over the top. And then he grew up a little bit, hit his mid-20s, and it kind of all clicked for him, and he became a guy that everybody just loved. Shaved his hair, got married to Brooke Shields, got his life together, and really became an icon and an entertainer and a very beloved tennis player and a much better tennis player. And I think that's where Cam Newton is. I don't think he's going to be great necessarily right away. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him. And how he handles that time, how he handles not being, that great right away, I think is going to go a long way to determining how well he does in the NFL. Some players can handle that adversity early. Some, Vince Young being the great example there, can't, and it causes them to either sink or swim. Anybody who says that they're going to tell you whether Newton sinks or swims right now, they don't know. The bust factor is obviously very high with him. I'm very worried that he is going to bust. That he's not going to be able to handle it, that it's too big for him, that he's a little short-sighted in how he approaches everything. And I have some worries about his mechanical ability, too. He tends to keep his feet too close together when he throws the ball, will throw flat-footed off of his back foot at times, tends to miss some targets that I think he should probably hit. But if you consider his limited experience and the fact that he hasn't really dealt with a professional quarterbacking system, hasn't been in an NFL style of offense, hasn't had a lot of consistent coaching throughout his career. He's bounced around. He started at Florida, got busted out of there, wound up at Blaine Community College, left there after a year, winning a title, and went to Auburn. He's not had any cohesion in his coaching, and I think being in a system for a couple of years, I think will really benefit him in terms of mechanics. Really, if you just watch how he played in the early part of the season with Auburn, and then you saw the video that he did with his quarterback guru out in San Diego not long after the season ended, you saw light years of progress there. So he's either really smart and a really quick learner, or he's just an incredible athlete. And I tend to believe that's a little bit of both, and I think that's going to transcend very well into the NFL, translate in, and make him a successful player. Now, yes, I am worried about that he's going to have the entourage issues. I worry a little bit about the meddling of his parents. But there's a lot of things that people are just seem to be kind of nitpicking. Well, he's never taken a snap from under center. Well, guess what? His brother's a center. I think he's probably worked on that a little bit of time playing around the house. You know, there's so many people that claim that he has this false attitude, that everything is fake about him. I'd like to know how you know that without really spending a lot of time with him. I've talked to people at Blaine Community College who spent a lot of time with him, and they say that he changed while he was there. When he came in, he came in like a prima donna. He had that diva about him, and he kind of getting kicked out of Florida really kind of humbled him. Yes, he does have a lot of swagger to him, and he has a lot of self-confidence, but those are good qualities for a quarterback. I want my quarterback to be confident that he can win. I want my teammates to understand that he has that kind of confidence, and they'll believe in that. I think those are good things. Do I think that he overdoes it a little bit? Yeah, I do. But at the same time, I think that might be where the NFL and where athletes in general are heading that way. Whether that works in the NFL right away or not remains to be seen. His draft status. He's probably going to go number 1 to Carolina or number 3 to Buffalo, barring either of those two passing on him. I really can't see him getting by Cincinnati at number 4. That assumes, of course, that Mike Brown, the president and decision maker there, ever puts his head out of the sand and realizes that Carson Palmer ain't coming back, Mike Brown. Figure it out. The Bengals have a long history of taking in the kind of troubled souls that Newton is, the damaged goods. They took Pac-Man Jones and Chris Henry and got functional play out of them. They can certainly handle Cam Newton. For all the headaches and everything that they've caused Marvin Lewis, they're remarkably adept and experienced at handling these sorts of things. So I think that would be a good landing spot for him, and I really, really don't see him falling past them at number 4. I happen to think he's going to wind up going to Buffalo at number 3. And I think that Chan Gailey is a good fit for him. Offensively, he was able to design systems around Quincy Carter and Tyler Thigpen even, and he's been a college coach, he's been a pro coach, so he kind of understands, the differences between the two games and how to blend those together. I think that Newton has the ability to be a real icon in Buffalo, and I think Buffalo would embrace him. I think they need that kind of identity. And I think it would be good for him and good for Buffalo. I don't want him to go to Carolina necessarily, because I think with a rookie coach and kind of a nondescript franchise around him, even though they have better pieces around, they have a running game and an offensive line, which Buffalo doesn't really have yet. I think that having a rookie coach there and kind of a GM that's sort of in lame duck limbo status with Marty Herney, I think he'd be better served winding up in Buffalo or Cincinnati, where there's a good support system around him too. They have a decent offensive line. They have some weaponry around him. They have a defense that can probably win some games for him if they really need to. So I would like ideally to see him wind up in Buffalo. I think he is the most talented player in this draft. I think he's the most dynamic presence in this draft. Or the last draft. Now, does that necessarily mean that he's going to succeed? We'll have to find out. We'll find out where he's going on April 28th at the NFL Draft. Until then, this is Jeff Risdon from Real GM signing off.